Hi everyone, welcome back to Betrayed. Thanks for joining us today. We have a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. I'm Jay. For 5 years, I truly believed I had a happy marriage. My wife, Lisa, and I shared what most people would consider a stable and healthy relationship. We didn't have major arguments or obvious problems, just a life that felt safe, steady, and familiar. And isn't that what marriage is meant to be? A partnership built on trust, support, and shared goals? A bond where no matter what life throws at you, you know you're there for each other? But lately, something didn't feel right. At first, it was very subtle, so subtle that I didn't even notice it immediately. I blamed it on stress, a rough week, or maybe just one of those phases every couple experiences. However, over time, the small changes became impossible to overlook. Lisa had always been loving. I used to come home from work to a warm hug, sometimes even a slow, meaningful kiss, like she had truly missed me. But recently, the kisses felt rushed and distant, like the kind of kiss you give a relative out of politeness, not affection. Conversations that once flowed easily now felt stiff and awkward. I'd ask about her day, and she'd reply with short, empty answers. The warmth in her voice was gone. No more laughter. No teasing. No playful moments. It felt like we were just existing under the same roof, not really living as a couple. Then came the mood swings. One minute she'd seem lost in thought, like her mind was somewhere far away. The next moment, she'd snap at me over the tiniest things. I kept asking if she was okay, if something was bothering her. Her answer was always the same. "I'm fine, Jay." But she wasn't fine. I tried to explain her behavior to myself, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. I kept thinking back to our early years, when everything felt natural. We could talk for hours without even noticing the time. We'd spend nights wrapped in each other's arms, whispering about our future. We were a team. And now it felt like she was slipping away. I tried harder. I planned romantic date nights. I made extra effort to connect with her emotionally. I did small things around the house, things I knew she appreciated, just to see if it would spark something, anything. But nothing changed. One night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The silence between us was heavier than ever. Months had passed since Lisa and I had been intimate. I had no idea why. I spent hours reading articles about reconnecting with a distant spouse, scrolling through advice columns and relationship forums, searching for answers. And one thing kept coming up: intimacy. Maybe physical closeness could help rebuild the emotional bond we had lost. So, I tried something simple. I reached out and gently held her hand. Just a small gesture. Nothing forceful. Nothing demanding. But the moment my fingers touched hers, she pulled away, like I had burned her. "Just leave me alone," she said. Her voice was cold and distant. I turned to my side, my chest tight. And for the first time since we got married, I didn't know if we could fix this. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment again and again in my mind. Just leave me alone. The words stung. But it wasn't just the words, it was how she said them. No hesitation. No sadness. Just cold detachment. Like my touch disgusted her. Like I was a stranger she wanted nothing to do with. For months, I had been ignoring the signs, telling myself she was just stressed, that maybe work was overwhelming, or that it was just a temporary phase. But that night, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Something was seriously wrong. Lisa wasn't just acting distant. She was completely shutting me out. It wasn't just about the lack of physical intimacy. It was everything. The way she barely spoke to me. The way she seemed emotionally empty, like her body was there, but her mind was somewhere else. The way she looked past me, as if I didn't even exist. I thought back to how easy things used to be between us, how we could talk about anything, laugh for hours, and truly enjoy each other's company. We were more than husband and wife, we were best friends. Now it felt like she was fading away. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't hold on to her. So I began paying more attention, watching closely for any clues, trying to figure out why she had changed. And the more I noticed, the more unsettled I became. Lisa had started falling asleep in unusual places. She'd nod off at the dining table, her head resting on her arms, her laptop still open in front of her. I once found her asleep on the couch in the middle of the afternoon, her phone in her hand, the screen dimmed from being idle. That wasn't like her. Lisa had always been full of life, always moving, always energetic. But now she looked completely worn out, even after a full night's sleep. Then there were the mornings. More than once, I woke up to the sound of the bathroom door closing. A few minutes later, I'd hear the toilet flush. When she came out, she looked pale, shaky, like she had just been sick. And every time I asked if she was okay, she'd force a smile and say the same thing. "I'm fine, Jay." But I knew she wasn't. Then came the most disturbing change. Lisa had started leaving the house more often. She had never been secretive before. If she had errands to run, she used to tell me. If she was meeting friends, she'd always let me know where she was going. But lately, she would just vanish. I'd come home from work and she wouldn't be there. No note, no message, nothing. Then hours later, she would walk through the door like she hadn't been gone all day. When I asked where she had been, she would avoid the question, brushing it off like I was being unreasonable for even asking. I tried not to jump to conclusions. I wanted to believe there was a logical explanation. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. And if she wasn't going to be honest with me, then I was going to find out the truth myself. I didn't want to believe the worst. Even after all the signs, her coldness, her distance, her secrecy, I still held on to the hope that maybe, just maybe, there was an explanation. Something that made sense. Something that didn't involve betrayal. But I also knew I couldn't keep lying to myself. So instead of asking Lisa questions she would never truly answer, I started watching. I paid attention to the little things. The tired look on her face every morning. The way she'd rush to the bathroom and come out pale and shaken. The way she'd disappear without a word and return hours later acting like everything was fine. And then there was her phone. Lisa had never been the kind of person who was obsessed with her phone. She used it like most people, texting friends, scrolling through social media. But recently, it had become like a lifeline for her. If I walked into the room, she'd quickly flip it face down. If I got too close, she'd lock the screen. One time, I reached for it absent-mindedly, thinking it was mine. She snatched it away so quickly, it made my stomach drop. I told myself I wouldn't snoop. I wanted to believe in trust and respect. But the truth was, trust had already been broken. It just took me some time to see it. I needed answers. I thought about following her, but I knew I wouldn't do it right. If I confronted her too early, she'd find a way to twist the story, make me doubt myself even more. So, I did something I never imagined I'd have to do. I hired a private investigator. It took a week. 7 long days of waiting, wondering, doubting myself. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was wrong. And then it came. "We have confirmation." The investigator's voice was calm, almost emotionless. But those 3 words hit me like a hammer. Lisa was seeing someone else. It was like a switch flipped inside me. This was the answer I had been searching for. The missing piece. The reason she couldn't look at me anymore. Couldn't stand my touch. Couldn't even be honest about where she had been. I could have confronted her right then and there. I could have thrown the proof in her face, demanded the truth, forced her to admit everything. But in that moment, I realized something else. She had already made her choice. She had decided I wasn't enough. And I wasn't going to sit there and beg a woman to love me when she had already given her heart to someone else. No. She didn't deserve a fight. She deserved to be caught off guard. I made up my mind right then. I was going to divorce her, and I would make sure she never saw it coming. The house was quiet when I came home that evening. I had left work early, determined to find a missing document my lawyer needed for the divorce. A crucial piece of the process I was now fully committed to. I had been avoiding it, maybe because doing it would make everything real. But that night, I was ready. I walked straight to our bedroom, heading to my side of the closet where I kept all my important papers. I searched the shelves, flipping through folders, checking between old receipts and bank statements. Nothing. Frustrated, I sighed and ran a hand over my face. Maybe I had left it somewhere else. Then a thought came to me. What if Lisa had accidentally put it with her things? It wouldn't be the first time something of mine ended up on her side of the closet. Without thinking much, I turned to her section and started going through her documents. That's when I found it. A plain white envelope, tucked between some papers. I almost ignored it, but something about how it was hidden made me pause. I pulled it out, flipped it over, and slowly slid out the paper inside. A pregnancy scan. For a few seconds, my mind refused to understand what I was seeing. Lisa was pregnant. My hands started shaking as I read the details. Over a month along. My heartbeat thundered in my chest. She never told me. I looked at the date on the ultrasound. My mind started racing, doing the math, connecting the timeline. Was this why she had been distant? Was this why she snapped at me that night in bed? Why she looked at me like I was a stranger? And then, an even more terrifying thought entered my mind. Could the baby even be mine? I felt the walls closing in around me. I couldn't wait. I couldn't pretend I didn't know. I needed answers right now. The rest of the evening was a blur. My thoughts were spinning too fast to focus on anything. And then I heard it. The sound of keys at the door. Lisa walked in, completely unaware of the storm waiting for her. She walked in with her phone in one hand, scrolling through something without even glancing up. She didn't notice the expression on my face. I didn't let her settle in. How long have you known you were pregnant? The words flew out of my mouth before I could even think to soften them. Lisa froze mid-step. Her body stiffened. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. The silence stretched between us. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. I was preparing to tell you. I let out a laugh, but there was no humor in it. Preparing? I repeated, standing up from the couch, my whole body tense. Why would you need preparation to tell your husband you're pregnant? Then I said it. The words I'd been too afraid to speak, but couldn't hold back anymore. Or, is the baby not mine? The moment I said it, I saw it. That split-second flicker in her eyes. Panic. She tried to recover, stood up straighter, and rushed out. Of course it's yours. I didn't believe her, not for a second. I stepped closer, my voice calm but steady. We'll do a DNA test. And that was it. Lisa broke. She let out a choked, broken sob. I don't know who the father is. Her words hit me like a death sentence, not just for our marriage, but for everything we had ever built together. For months, I had felt it. Something wasn't right. I had questioned my own sanity, wondering if I was imagining things, overthinking. But this was the confirmation I never wanted. I exhaled slowly, trying to stay calm. Get ready, I said, my voice flat, controlled. The divorce papers will be coming soon. Lisa dropped to her knees, sobbing, begging me to think it over, not to rush, to give her a chance to explain. But I didn't care anymore. There was nothing left to explain. At first, she cried. She pleaded. She told me we could fix it, that it was a mistake, that she was confused, that we could move forward. But I was done. And when she saw I wasn't changing my mind, the tears stopped. The apologies turned into anger. She started fighting. She dragged out the divorce process, made it as painful as she could. She argued that after 5 years of marriage, she deserved something. She wanted the house. She wanted spousal support. She wanted to punish me for leaving her. But I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I let my lawyer handle everything. I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. Then came the DNA test. I didn't need it. I already knew. But I needed the proof. The results came in. The baby wasn't mine. That was the final blow. Lisa shut down. No more excuses. No more justifications. No more lies. She had nothing left to stand on. The court sided with me. She walked away with nothing. No house. No spousal support. No control over me anymore. She lost everything. But here's the part that truly broke her. She had already lost before the divorce was even finalized. Because after everything, after tearing our marriage apart, after giving up a loyal, committed husband for a temporary thrill. She found out the truth too late. Her lover didn't want the baby. The man she risked it all for. The one she bet her future on. The one she chose over me. He didn't want her. He told her to get rid of it. He wasn't ready to be a father. He didn't want the responsibility. He wasn't about to change his life for her. Lisa was devastated. She had convinced herself she was leaving me for something better, that she was stepping into a life where she would finally be happy. Instead, she ended up completely alone. And that's when the bitterness kicked in. She couldn't face what she had done. She couldn't take responsibility for her choices. So she turned her anger toward me. That's why she became distant. That's why she couldn't look me in the eyes. That's why she snapped at me that night in bed and said she couldn't stand me. It had nothing to do with me. She was mad at herself. Mad that she bet on the wrong man. Mad that she threw away a good marriage for someone who left her the moment things got real. And I was just the easiest target for her anger, her regret, her self-hate. But by the time I understood all this, it didn't matter. Because I had already walked away. And I never looked back. If there's one thing I've learned from this, it's this. Never ignore the signs. When something feels off, when your gut tells you something isn't right, listen. Some men look away. They tell themselves their wife is just going through something. That things will get better. That if they love harder, stay patient, hold on, it'll all work out. But let me tell you, if someone doesn't want you, you'll feel it. I felt it. And I'm glad I listened. Because it's better to be divorced than to live a lie. That's my truth. That's my lesson. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you have handled it differently? Would you have forgiven her? Or would you have done what I did? Walked away, knowing you deserve better? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if you found this story worth sharing, hit that like button, subscribe, and send it to someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching. Until next time.